Hi, everyone. My name is Candace Craw-Goldman. This is the Quantum Healing with Candace show. And this show is sponsored by Greg Prescott at n5d.com. Thanks so much for making this show possible, Greg. Earlier this morning, I did a show with my good friend Allison Coe, and we had hoped to stream it live to YouTube, and it didn't work out that way, some technical difficulties. YouTube decided to have a need for a new processor, right as, I guess, apparently, I was streaming the show from our Zoom webinar over to YouTube Live. And so our apologies for all of you YouTube fans who missed Allison live when we all thought that that's exactly where she was going to be too. So our apologies. We did get the show recorded, and I'm processing it now on another computer, and we're going to put it up as soon as I can put all of these clips together. For those of you who registered for the Zoom webinar, please know that more than 400 of you registered, but we only had spots available for 100. We took as many questions as we could, but there was hundreds and hundreds of questions, and we just couldn't get to them all. But I want to thank you so much for your interest in this work, in the event, in supporting quantum healers around the world, and really for being who you are, the light in this world that's bringing something wonderful like the event to our planet. Thank you. Now we join our show already in progress. The people on YouTube will just have to see us a little bit later. So there we go. I wanted to just tell you that hundreds of people emailed me before today and sent in all kinds of questions. And those of you who are actually here on the webinar, please look down. If you've not been on Zoom before, look down for the Q&A box and put your question in the Q&A box. There's also a chat feature, and over in the chat is more of a hi, how you doing, and seeing other people, you know, sign on, etc. That's the chat feature. It will not be a place where I'm going to pick up questions, okay? It's too difficult, it goes by too quickly. There's so many of you here. We're not gonna look at the chat for your questions. So find the question and answer box, and that's where you should put your questions, and there's already 7 of them on there.
I see, yeah, I see the difference. There's chat, and then it's wonderful. It's hard to keep track of them. Everybody saying hi, hey, hi. And how's my volume now, everybody? Is that better? I see, it looks like it's better, okay.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Were they saying it was a little tough to hear you?
Yeah, just a little low, but I think this will work. Okay, wonderful. So yeah, let's start asking some questions, shall we? Or I'll let you lead.
That's okay. I know you're excited about this because we talked about possibly doing this last time we got together for a show, and we just talked the whole time, and we didn't get to that part because they were supposed to talk about. So we wanted to do just a brief update if there was one. And we wanted then to have this whole session together, this whole show together by answering or, focused on answering questions. So we're absolutely going to do that. I want to start out just with a couple of pieces of information. Number one, forgive my voice. I've been going through what a lot of people call ascension flu, some really interesting information about how and this is my 3rd bout of this since last year, but this one coming on pretty strong. There's some interesting information out there now about how and why this is happening to a lot of people, particularly light workers, people, healers in this field at this time. So I'm in good company, even though I'm not at my best. I actually have a voice. So forgive me for my Kleenex, for my tea, and anything like that. As we go forth. The second thing I wanted to talk about just briefly is my own sessions since the last time we've had the show. There's been some minor information or brief times that the event has come up and through in my own sessions, but almost all of my sessions have had to do with timeline collapse and timeline shifts. And particularly, and I mentioned this to you just briefly before the show, Allison, but I think our viewers might be interested in hearing this part. So for those of you who don't know me, I assisted Dolores Cannon for many years, and I've been doing this work for a decade. And oh gosh, I'm getting goosebumps just starting to think about saying what I'm going to say.
Control yourself. No, I'm just saying.
Which is, in this last week, I had not 1, not 2, but 3 really amazing lucid dreams concerning Dolores. And in all three of these dreams, I stepped into her classroom. Now, I assisted Dolores from 2008 to 2014. So I was in many, many classes with her over all those years. But when I stepped into the classroom to, during these classes with Dolores, I stepped through in this way. First off, I knew what date it was, meaning I knew what class it was. I even knew what year it was. And I'll tell you why in a moment. And I was stepping in as that person did at that time, but with the memory and the understanding and the comprehension and the the experience of the time that's passed since. So let me tell you about the three dates. The three dates were 2008, my very first class with Dolores. 2011, this is the class that was filmed or videotaped that is now her online class, class, and then her very last class. And in all three of these classes, I stepped in and I'm going, okay, this is weird because I know what date this is. I know what's going on here, but I also know it's 2018 and I'm having a dream and why am I here? And the really, really interesting thing was there wasn't a whole lot that happened past there that I want to even get into right now, except for this. Dolores Cannon's eyes and my eyes going like,
what a trip.
Do you see what I mean about time and timeline collapse and aspects kind of collapsing like that and being able to navigate time in that way? And then some of my other clients have had that, more of a time thing. That's all I wanted to say today about my own sessions doing the QHHT and the Beyond Quantum Healing work. But now let's just take questions, shall we?
Right. That is fascinating, though. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So here's actually a really, really basic question, but I think it's an important one. And that is, why all the discrepancies? Why all the discrepancies between the quantum healing sessions that are happening over the planet and perhaps maybe most of your sessions or some other people's sessions? How do you explain that?
To me, I guess the immediate explanation is the individual experience. Each individual is on their own level, and each individual may experience something different. Even in my own sessions, they say that there will be a split between people who can handle this stuff and people who can't handle this stuff. And even the ones who can handle this event, when I say this stuff, I mean like this energy coming in, and even the ones who can't handle it. Even the ones who can handle it and are on the ground floor when the wave comes, there will be discrepancies between how they experience it as well. And so I had one client who came in and was like, yes, it's going to be this huge bright light, beautiful bright light, and she'll soak it in. And some people will experience this bright light. It's lasting for hours. Some will experience it lasting for minutes. And so even the time frame for that person gave was variable. And then she said, she was talking about her sister. This is just one example. She was talking about her sister who's maybe a couple rungs down the ladder of awakening from her. And she said, the light will be less bright for her than it will be for others. And so that to me tells me that where you're at, what your level is, will allow you to experience this light differently. And then we have the whole, some people will be, you don't have to believe everything I say. I'm just giving you information that comes through my sessions. But we have the whole, idea that people will be separated, and some who can't handle the light because it will actually hurt them will be off on these ships. And then when they're brought back down, they will be at it will take them a while to catch up, if you will, with the others. And some won't even know that they were ever brought to these ships. They'll have to actually deal with that and come to their own terms with it. That this wasn't just a dream, this actually happened. And so I think it is on an individual level. And that's why there is a discrepancy. But then you have people who are like, yeah, this isn't going to happen anytime soon, or it's not going to be this big solar flash. So, as far as that's concerned, I have no answer for that. You know, it just, people get different information. All I can do and all anybody can do is say, okay, what are the vast majority saying? That's why I use like data points. You know, I have so many data points all saying the same thing. And then I, you know, from a logical manner, I can look at that and say, oh, okay, that could happen then. You know, if I take emotion out of it and just look at logic, then yes, that could happen. But truly, none of us really know. We're all just kind of waiting around to see what's going to happen. That's in a nutshell is what's going down. None of us truly know. Okay.
And some of it's so fun, isn't it? You know, some of my own guidance and hearing from my own team says that we are dreaming this into reality. And some of the excitement that you all, you know, in our webinar, and those of you watching this YouTube later, which by the way, I just got a piece of information in, YouTube just asked me to upgrade my streaming encoder for this show, right? I mean, I've done it before, and it was fine on this computer, but for this show, right beforehand, I'm asked to, and that, of course, we're not going to do that. So that explains.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Yeah,
okay.
So whatever. For those of you who are watching this later and why it wasn't live, now you know why, and sorry about that.
Yeah.
So that's great. And that kind of fits with almost all information that comes through quantum healing sessions, really. I mean,
yeah.
The big thing is the event, but there's other ones. So, so yeah, that, you know, because a lot of people, my very next question, you know, is, you know, on this list, and then I'm going to go to the live questions is, you know, people are afraid about families being broken up. How do you talk to them about that and about young kids?
Okay, so the stuff about young kids is, I always hear this in sessions, and I think others hear this as well. They're more prepared than us to hold this light. They are way ahead of us. So just because they don't talk about it, or you don't see maybe evidence that they're spiritually awake, these are beings who are ready to hold this light. Okay, families splitting up. You know, when I talk about the event and this wave coming to Earth, all of the information I get at this point is not saying that this is when a split occurs per se. This is just when a wave of energy comes to the Earth and raises everybody up to their next level, So it's not saying a split will occur at that point. I think the choice eventually will happen after the event, you know, when you get a choice to go to a different planet or to dimension hop, if you will, that keeps coming through sessions. So I wouldn't worry too much about families being split up at this point. That's not what this is about. Yeah, they do mention, you know, some people who aren't prepared, who would be hurt by the light, or taken off for a couple days, then brought back down. And that's a temporary thing. And so that should alleviate some fears. And then also you have the, you know, the soul path stuff, which is like, hey, everybody's on their own path. Everybody. And you cannot control where they go, what they signed up for. We are on a ride with people for just a temporary time. They're in our lives. And that to me makes me appreciate everyone who's around me at this time, even if they're being jerks. You jerk, I love you. Because you and I may not end up together at some point. So this is not the time that the information that's coming through is that this is not the time when we're separated. If we do get separated, it's just for a temporary time, because people can't handle the light that's coming in, and then they're brought back down. And it's our job, people who are able to handle the light and hold the light, it's our job to then help them, the ones that come back. Our job to start putting more light in them at that point. So hopefully that answers the questions.
I think it does. And I actually, one of our attendees, Liz Lee, asks about the children a little bit more. So if the child holds the light on the ground level and the parent goes up to a ship, you know, there could be temporary separations in that way. But, you know, we answer, as quantum healers, we answer this question a lot about children anyway. You have to remember that the soul energy that, you know, animates a child is as old or as wise as any other energy out there. Just because their earth years aren't advanced doesn't mean exactly like what you said. And
Correct.
many of the new children are infinitely ready for this. It's those of us who've been around a little longer.
Right. And, you know, if we do consider, you know, mothers being separated from infants and stuff like that, I haven't ever asked that specific question, but I do get information all the time that says nothing will be done to harm anybody. That is why there are other beings around us to help us in this process, that they're trying to like protect everyone. And so I don't know, it hasn't come through my sessions that anybody is going to be in any precarious positions unless they are a very negative being, and then and then it comes through that they're going to be recycled. Okay.
Yeah, we have questions about that too, but here's an interesting one from I think the name is Danae, and Danae asks, Allison, have you too had these visions? Personally, have you had any of the visions of the wave or the energy coming in?
You know, I'm not I'm not a vision person, and nor do I get, you know, nor am I very good at visuals. Even when I go into a hypnosis, what I get are knowings. I get big chunks of knowledge, and I also have this truth meter. So no, I haven't had any dreams, nor have I had any spontaneous visions, but I have had my own sessions, my own quantum healing hypnosis sessions, and beyond quantum healing. And definitely it does come through my sessions that a wave is coming. So, but I just consider that another data point that says the same thing. So I don't put any more credence into my session than I do into, you know, my client sessions. But yes, I'm not gifted in the visuals. Sucks.
Well, Allison and I are members of the same original Quantum Healing Support Forum community, and a lot of us get together and talk about that, and I talk about how our clients are talking about this. And, you know, it's a really great way of doing it, thinking about yourself as a reporter and just
Yes.
what this one says, and this is what this one says, and here's what happened in my session. But, you know, who knows? I think it's one of the reasons we're here, is to see what happens.
Right. And I try to remain completely unbiased when doing this work and reporting on it and getting the information and not judging. Well, that would be unbiased, but completely standing in this point of not judging, not trying not to have an emotional response to all of this stuff, even though I do, because I too want it. But when I'm reporting it and when I'm gathering the information, even when it's my own, I try to completely stay unbiased.
That's a really great, that's a great way of looking at it. I think most of the quantum healers I know try to do that the same way. So actually, speaking of quantum healing, William asks, am I, or is Allison, either one of us, I guess, licensed to teach QHHT? And the answer is no. But if you check us out on our forum, we are teaching Beyond Quantum Healing, but there's only one person alive now who can teach QHHT, but Dolores's videos are still out there. So anybody who's listening, who's interested in this work, can learn or, you know, look up finding out about both of these courses. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm just going to put this out there. I would be a terrible teacher. I don't know. I suck at that stuff.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know about that, because you're teaching, you are very good at disseminating information. So I'm going to take a little bit of exception to that.
Oh, thank you.
But excellent. Okay. So I'm going to go back to another emailed question. Here's a really good one. Have you asked at all how long the actual wave that comes in will last?
Yeah, I have asked, and that is, I do get variable answers on that, but most of the data points for that one all say that it's going to be a couple hours, or at least it will lay people down for several hours, but that it won't ever leave necessarily. Like, this energy is going to stay here and permeate the planet. But the bulk of it hitting the planet and it kind of ramping people up and allowing them to hold this energy, flooding the planet, that I get a lot of information that says it'll be a couple hours, but who knows? This is through sessions, through an entity that can't really, that lives outside of time.
Yes.
So I do try to ask about that and try to ask, can you gauge how long this will affect people? But they also say, you know, I've had those sessions that say that the people are going to be off, the ones who can't handle it will be off planet for a couple of days. So if you just take that information and the other information, you kind of have this range. Okay, it could be from a couple hours to a couple days. Yeah, so it's you can infer from that.
Interesting. I actually asked something along the lines about, because another answer seems to be, well, it's already coming in, you know, bits of it's already coming in. It's just
right.
a deep web. And then I asked, well, how can we tell? And I got a really interesting answer one time, and it was, go outside and close your eyes and see if you know, while you're outside near the sun, and see if you can see anything behind your closed eyelids while you're sitting in the sunlight. So I did that. And what I've actually seen, I don't know now, I've never even said this out loud to really anybody except for the client there. But I saw, like, you know, kind of like maybe like a television or a video kind of screen waves like that, goes down in waves. So I'm sitting out there looking, or, you know, towards the sun with my eyelids closed, and anyway, that was sort of like the idea that it might be, you know, hints of what's to come in a very inner way.
Oh, that's exciting.
Isn't that fun? All right, here's an interesting question by, hold on. I think we already answered that one, so sorry. Okay. This is a really interesting, I've not heard this one before. Good for you, Liam. Liam wants to know, what if you're underground? What if you're underground? Will you feel or see it? I think it's a great question.
That is a great question. Way to go, Liam. Yeah, no, I'm sure that you will feel it, and I am sure that you will see it. By the way that it's described in these sessions, they are constantly like, yeah, no, there's no escaping this energy. Absolutely no escaping. And they're always like, it's going to permeate the earth. So even if you're underground, it's going to get you. It's going to find you. But, you know, I get a lot of questions in the comments of my videos from people who are like, okay, if it's coming in daytime in the Pacific Northwest, which is I get a lot of that in my sessions, a lot of sessions saying, yeah, there'll be daytime. Then it'll be nighttime across the other side of the world. And what will we experience? Well, you're still going to be hit by this wave of energy, and it will probably wake you up, I would imagine, because this is not lulling, sleepy time energy. It will you'll probably feel it coming, like this extreme vibration, I would imagine. Okay. But I haven't directly asked that question. It would be a fun question to ask, but I don't hijack my client session. So I need a client to show up and ask that.
You know, actually, that brings me to a question about, you know, you were actually talking about numbers a little bit. You know, how many people have come, how many people have asked in their sessions about the event, and how much agreement there has been. And so I wonder, like, has a preponderance of the sessions you've had lately had this as a topic of focus, or what?
Well, you know, it's always, all of my sessions are primarily on the individual's health and wellness, all of them. That individual seeking some level of relief. And then back maybe 25 questions down, generally, there'll be a question about whether or not they'll experience an event on Earth, or whether this is actually happening, because we don't just want to assume, you know, oh yeah, this event's happening, because that would be leading during the hypnosis. We don't just want to say, where will they be during this event? We want to say, is an event actually happening, or as they've heard, or some trying to ask the question without leading, without assuming that this is happening. But no, you know, yes, there are questions, but always with each client, it's primarily about their health, wellness, their relief from situations. That's primary, always.
Yeah. So, excuse me, Allison, how many clients then, the question is asked specifically here by Julie, how many clients approximately have you had mention anything about the event or the New Earth?
You know, just in the last 2 months, I've had probably over 25 clients who have either asked about it or it's been brought up spontaneously during their sessions, and then information has come through. So it is a huge amount. That to me is a huge amount. You know, that's just in 2 months. Yeah. So the other beyond that, I would have to estimate, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah. So a colleague of ours, Julie Doré, says, I've had several sessions where clients have been shown a more intense timeline than what Allison has been shown. How practitioners are being sent clients that are being shown the same timelines. I'm getting a little buzz on my body about that. What do you think about that whole concept?
Well, I don't really understand the question too much.
It would be something like this. There's a preponderance, tell me if I'm wrong, of agreement for the, say 25 people that have come in to talk to you who've had sessions about the event plus your own session. And then what Julie is saying is, wow, she doesn't say how many, but she's had several clients come that the preponderance has it even a bigger event. And there may be another practitioner over here whose people come in and they kind of shrug their shoulders and say maybe it's a non-event, or maybe it's really not going to be noticed by very many people. And so that's her question, or her observation about how maybe different practitioners are assisting different timelines maybe. What do you think?
Right. You know, I do agree that I do believe that can be a trend, obviously, because there's facts supporting that. But also, when you just think about how consciousness affects an experiment, if you just look at the research done on that, we couldn't help. I couldn't help, and people will be all over this like crazy probably if I say this, but you know, just stating the facts here, we would have to assume that the consciousness of the hypnotist, the consciousness of the humans in these hypnosis sessions would affect the results. You just have to assume that if the consciousness of scientists are affecting the results of their experiments, then the consciousness of the hypnotist would probably affect the results of the session. But that is why we try our hardest, or at least I try my hardest in these sessions, to keep my opinions out of it completely, and to stay unbiased completely, and to not lead. So I try my hardest to do those things, because I do believe that. And yeah, it could be that different hypnotists are getting a preponderance of clients who are on a certain timeline with that hypnotist. I was told in my own session that I'm amassing a tribe, if you will, and not in any hierarchy level, but a round table level where we're all moving together, you know, to either to the next level or to the next earth together. And this is my tribe. And I even put that on my website years ago. These clients are my tribe. These subscribers to my channel, they're my tribe, you know. And I think everybody is amassing their tribe right now. Absolutely. So maybe that has to do with the timelines. But I do think it's important to consider that people are getting different information, and to not disregard it just because it doesn't match mine, because it's not mine, it's my client's information. And I think it's wonderful to include all of this information and to try to look at it all.
There's a lot of people saying how excited they are in the questions. They're not even really saying.
So excited! Yes.
Yeah. The excitement level. Are the preponderance of your clients and your subscribers and the people who contact you excited as well, or are some people not so much?
Yeah, you know, they're excited for the new and so ready to leave the old. They're just so done. You know, that is a theme that I get, and I'm not sure if you get that same theme from people. They're just so done and that's represented in that kind of boredom, you know, that not really, you know, interested in regurgitating all of the spiritual stuff that's out there that all says the same thing. You know, they're just done. They're done with the junk. They're done with the manipulation. They're done with all of the systems that are failing. They're done with their fellow humans who remain asleep. They're just done. And yes, and on the flip side, they're so goddamn excited. They're so excited. They're so excited. And I have to say, I'm very much the same. I can't even hardly watch any spiritual stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, people send me links in my comments and I'll follow them and see if it's interesting. And most of the time it is. And I just posted some of those in my video, but, I don't go searching hardly anymore. I just watch dog rescue videos at night.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I absolutely love it. You know, in my own session, Dolores said that this excitement that a lot of you are talking about is part of the thing that is helping manifest this. This excitement we're part of the creation of this. So keeping that excitement level is great.
I 100% agree with that. Actually, if you just look at the law of attraction and like the stuff, you know, the Abraham Hicks stuff, that is part of the equation. Is that excitement actually brings the stuff quicker to you. You want to be excited. It's okay to have one foot in both worlds, you know, being like, yeah, that's old, but look how exciting this new is that's coming. That actually is a huge part of the manifestation of it.
So there's been a lot of questions submitted. I'm trying to make some of these general because there's just no way we're going to get to all these questions.
Right.
There's hundreds and hundreds of them. But here's a really interesting one. It's been asked in several different ways. Will we be able to communicate with those who've passed on once we're into the new earth, or once the wave has stopped, or finished coming in? Will we be able to talk to people who've already, left their physical forms?
I have received a couple answers on that, because some of my clients who have passed, who have asked about that specifically, and they said that not everybody will have that gift, but many will. It will be enhanced in many. And so it's along the lines of right now, if you look at humans, some have certain psychic gifts that are more innate than others, or more enhanced than others. And on the new earth, or wherever you go after you ascend, certain gifts might still be more enhanced in others. And kind of, how do I say this the right way? They say that certain people will be able to have that gift, and others just won't. Mm-hmm. But it will be more widely available than it is now. So anyway, that's what comes through my sessions, and not enough people have asked that question, but I do find it amazing that yes, no matter what, our abilities are growing, but we might just be growing down a trajectory that we're already heading, For certain people, it might be, it's probably still individual.
That's a great way of putting it. Somebody else was also asking, what if those people who'd passed weren't very spiritually advanced, meaning, they were maybe less than, light focused when they passed? Does that change whether or not they can be contacted after
It doesn't seem to. I mean, if you just look at now, it doesn't seem to change. It doesn't seem to have any effect now. And, we're all playing a role down here as well. So we cannot base our assumptions on their spirituality, on the way their actions here, because they're playing a role. I hear that all the time in these sessions, especially from people who have had such a hard time with individuals in their life and who have passed. And then they ask about those individuals from the higher self, and the higher self is like, yeah, they're actually a very advanced being. They signed up. They're so advanced, they signed up to be a real jerk, a real piece of work over here, because they were advanced enough to be able to do that. And it really kind of shifts your perspective on who these kind of assholes are that are down here. Sorry, I'm not supposed to cuss. And that's not because of the platform. I was given that in my own, from my higher self. They were like, yeah, you got to stop cussing. And so that's not for everybody. That's for me. They were saying, you have to release more of your 3D personality. So they were like, don't drink anymore and don't cuss anymore. I'm like, what? Oh my God. Okay, so that's why I say that. I'm not supposed to cuss, because I'm not.
You know, in my own session that I had with Dolores in 2008 as the demo subject in her class, my higher self focused on the concept of after-death communication. I mean, it was the number one thing I was supposed to focus on. I had no idea I would be ending up doing what I'm doing right now, which is kind of that. But my own ability to sort of tap into those beyond the veil is increasing gently, and has been for a while. So I think that's really
right.
good.
Right. And that's unique to you. And other people who have a different psychic gifts, their abilities are increasing right now as well, as these tendrils of energy are hitting the earth. So they're ramping up. So certain people are highly empathic, though that will increase. Certain people are highly intuitive, and they're getting readings that they've never gotten before from people. They're able to get them like that, even from non-physical, communication. So just from a text, from an email, they're picking up way more. And so yes, this stuff is ramping up for everybody.
I think it is. Kimberly sent in this question, and she's also here live, and she asked this question in a nice way. It's just a lovely way. It's not a bad question. It's a great question. She actually asks, with all the information coming to you and the longevity in this field of study, how do you look at all the connected dots and breadcrumb trails and keep an objective mind? How do you not throw the baby out with the bathwater? How? Well, you try to keep an objective mind, but how do you do that? I think it's a great question.
Well, I always ask myself, what would Spock do?
Oh, I love it. I thought you might say Dolores, but no, Spock.
What would Spock do? Yeah, what would he do with all of this information? No, it's just, it's in my nature to already be able to do that, to stay objective and to not have an emotional response to this information. So it's already in my nature to do that. And then I was raised on Star Trek, and I love Spock, and he's like, when emotion becomes too unbearable, then logic is a really, really warm place to go. It's a wonderful place to go. And logic is what helps me out a lot in this work, because I do hear so much information and sometimes it conflicts. And so that's how I can handle it, is to separate it logically into data points, just like that, just as a researcher would. And that really helps me, because I do get an emotional response really quick. That's the ego. When I get information from like people saying, oh, well, this person says this or this person says that, and it completely conflicts with what I get. And I'm like, oh, that can't be right. And then immediately I switch over to logic. Well, okay, that's just a reference point, and we'll see how many of those compared to how many of these, and that's all you can do. Or that's where I find my comfort zone. So I'm also a double Virgo, so I'm super highly logical anyway. And when I did my, this is just an aside, but when I did my, aptitude test for going into college and stuff, what would I be best at? I was told I should be a mathematician.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. But that is my strength and my ability. So
Dolores is like that too. She called herself a reporter. And if you read her books carefully, she'll start some chapters out by saying, and then I had this client who had a completely different viewpoint of it. So, that's a good way of putting it. So a lot of people are asking this question about evil. Does evil survive? And what about people like criminals in the jail system, or people, religious or political leaders who've committed atrocities? What will happen to them after the event? And also ETs who may be walking amongst us. What happens to all these beings after the event?
Okay, so oh God. Sorry, there's a squirrel fight going on out my window. I just saw one plunge to its death. Not really, it was just 10 feet. Okay, so negative, as it comes through these sessions, anybody who is so negatively aligned, they will be sent away. They can't handle this light. They cannot handle the light that's going to be flooding the earth, and so they will be removed from the earth. I have heard during my sessions, they refer to it as recycling. They will be recycled, but I've also heard that they will just be sent to a planet that they match. They won't be a match anymore for here. Also, the negativity is going to be removed from the people who can hold the light. That comes through my sessions as well. Multiple sessions have said that. So the people that remain here, they will have their negativity removed. They won't be, and they said in the sessions, they said that that's going to be really weird for people to not be able to fall back on this habitual habit of thinking negative thoughts and having resentments and holding on to that. It'll be a totally different way of being. As far as the ETs go, I do get a lot of information that says that they are here, of course, and that they will be known to us. And the time frame for that is variable. They say within the next several years. So that could be the next day, or 700 and something day, 800 and something days down the road, 900 days down the road, because they say 1 to 3 years they will be known to us. So disclosure is coming. The ones that are here and have been here, and the ones that are out in the skies. So that is something that says that comes through my sessions, is saying that this will happen.
Back to the families thing and being split up and who goes and who doesn't, who's recycled and whatever any of that means. It occurs to me as you were talking, maybe because also people are asking, what can we do? How can we assist or whatever? Well, how about this too? The people that maybe aren't fully, thinking in a light-filled way right now, see them thinking that way. See them acting that way. Because when you do that, you actually assist them.
Right.
So, rather than pitting them or reacting against them or sending them darkness, if they're sending darkness your way, see them light-filled. See what their contribution is. Because they very well may be a catalyst in helping this stuff move along. We've had more than one person suggest that's what the whole Trump thing is all about.
Yeah, I think I am not going to open up that Pandora's box, but I do agree. Controlling your thoughts about a thing is the number one thing you can do to affect someone. And it's just simply that, controlling your thoughts about that person and switching the narrative that's in your head about that jerk that cut you off, or that jerk that lives with you, or that jerk who teaches your kid. Changing that narrative in your head is huge. That spreads more light. That comes through so many sessions. Like, start controlling yourselves. That is that is one of the number one things you can do, is control your thoughts about a thing. Control the narrative that's going on in your head. That's something, like I said, when I get those egoic hits immediately, like, that can't be, whatever information they're getting, that sucks because it goes against what I'm getting. No, I immediately have to take that switch and be like, Oh yeah, that could be just as valid. Why couldn't that be valid? You know, that can be just as valid as what I'm getting. So I have to do a lot of that. You know, I've been doing that that was actually one of the first steps I took to awakening, was starting to control my thoughts. And that is a magical portal that you go through once you're able to do that.
Yeah. So, a webinar attendee named Jeff says, hello, Candace and Allison. I love hearing your updates. I've had feelings this is true or real, but I'm not experiencing much myself. He did a QHHT session last week, but was unable to connect, see any past life. Visualize, didn't only see black. Is this common? Do you have a way to break through the block? Is it frustrating for me and makes me question the reality of all this hype?
Yeah, I would be frustrated too. And I would definitely question it as well. That would be a natural reaction. You know, I would have to talk to you on an individual level about your experience to kind of put it in perspective. I always, before we go into the hypnosis, I always do a whole spiel with the client about, you know, if you see black, that doesn't mean you're not somewhere. And we go through, like, you know, it just means there's an absence of visible light. And so what could that be? You have to check in with your other senses. And anyway, so it would be a wonderful conversation to have, but your first instinct is always, if I see black, this must not be working. Yeah. And so it helps to get prepared beforehand to know that if you see black, it just means that these aren't working. It's something else. It doesn't mean you're not somewhere. Like I've had seeds, you know, like a client goes into like a seed. And and I've had them go into wombs. I've had them go into space. So like, there's a lot of black places you can go. It doesn't mean you're not somewhere, but yes, ultimately you left frustrated, and I completely understand that. I would too, if I was you. Yeah. Sure. And I would start questioning things, but.
I've had clients who are blind.
Oh, I've had that before too.
Yeah. I mean, and they immediately go, I'm not seeing anything. This must not be working. And I would say, wait a second. Yeah. So,
yeah, like, yeah, because then you start asking about the other senses. Okay, do you feel anything? Reach down. Do you feel your leg? Do you feel anything down there? Can you feel the ground? Can you feel a surface or around you? You know, it's fascinating, the different levels of information you can get.
Yeah, and you're not always in a physical body either. You know, I've had the great pleasure of doing this. I think 13 is how many sessions I've had in a decade. And I've had, out of those 13, and I'm very visual. I'm an artist, photographer. I was doing all of that before this. Two of my own sessions had no visuals at all. And when the first one came where there was no visuals at all, I was like, what's happening here? Because I'd already had like about 9 or whatever that, you know, were like movies. And suddenly there's like nothing there. And I'm like, well, this must be what it's like for a client. And then so even internally, I'm like, well, then what do you say to a client? And it was actually easy to find the story. It was easy to figure it out once I got over nothing's happening.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So those of you out there, a lot of people do this.
But I don't want to disregard, you know, Jeff's experience, and, you know, so I would have to hear more about that to help him. But also, you know, with regards to not getting any hits that this energy is coming, that's something that, you know, would be frustrating as well. But don't disregard dreams. Yeah. You know, some people who don't get, you know, awake signs, they get dreams that are spot on. You know what I'm getting a preponderance of right now, Candace, is that, okay, so it reminds me of the dreams that people had that they reported after 9/11. So after 9/11, you have all of these people come out of the woodwork and say, you know, I actually had dreams about this and I disregarded them, but they were powerful. I had dreams about 2 planes hitting the buildings or 2 missiles hitting the buildings, all this stuff, and people running for their lives. And it was in New York or in a major city. I get dreams sent to me all of the time. And I really put a lot of credence into dreams, just because that's how I, before I was ever doing this work, I would do dream interpretation, because that is your direct line to the higher self. When the ego is asleep, the higher self is finally like, ugh, here's all this information. You've been talking all day long, and I finally have to give you all this information. And for some people, their dreams are precognitive. That is their skill. And they are getting tons of dreams about this light. And so when they hear my session, then when they hear my videos, they're like, wait, this reminds me of a dream I had 3 years ago. This reminds me of a dream I had last week. This reminds me, I saw the same exact thing. So there are people who are having these precognitive dreams about this event. Mm-hmm. Exactly the way I've described it. Okay.
That's great. Yes. How does a double Virgo end up being a dream interpreter?
Okay, so Virgos, their ruling planet is Mercury. And Mercury is kind of like this knowing, this ability to have an antenna on your head that has this knowing. So that's how I get my information, is from knowing. And so basically when I look at dreams, I can see patterns the same way that I can see them in my sessions. And I also just get a knowing of what it means. And then the longer you know an individual, you can see how it aligns with their life, how this dream is just a symbol for this aspect of their life. It's actually fascinating. I love it. And it's a game, but it's also me making sure that I rebalance the hemispheres of my brain. That's something I choose to do.
Yeah, so those of you out there, pay attention to your dreams. Your dreams always are communication. My father tells me all the time, oh, they're crazy, they don't mean anything. I'm like, oh, really? Tell me your last one. And it almost always is easy to figure it out, for me and my dad anyway. It's not always easy. And dream symbolism stuff is interesting to look at, but it's your own personal symbolism and other things that you really need to pay attention to. But don't disregard your dreams, even if they seem funny or they don't make sense. Pay attention to them always.
Mine have been so freaking vivid lately. Just this past week, they have been out of sight. And before that, they were touch and go for months because I wasn't in the regular practice of writing them down. I still am not. But my higher self is like, fool, you better pay attention. They're like, man, you little fool, you have some messages in here. And so I've been trying to pay attention to them lately because sometimes I just need a damn break, man.
Sure you do. Yeah. And sometimes dreams are take out the trash dreams. And as I say that, a garbage truck just drove by my studio.
Oh, wow.
This is the way life works, people. Okay. I'd have to tell you this dream. I dreamed of a friend of mine whose husband passed away about 15, 16 years ago. I dreamed about her. I dreamed about him. So he'd passed. And we were in The Wizard of Oz. Yes, and I do live in Kansas. And yes, my name is Candace. And anyway, so we were at the place where, where like the road converges. The scarecrow is there and does this.
Yes.
And, in this dream, my friend and I were standing right there, and her children were here. And the husband, who's the deceased one, came over here. And she was having trouble connecting with him, which is why we were all doing this together with me in the dream in Kansas on the yellow brick road. But he was saying to her that what I was talking about in the new earth and the event was a real thing. And the road that went one way was golden and the bright, vivid colors. And then the other road was the black and white or the muted colors. And that whole thing about Wizard of Oz, if you go back and watch that movie, that, a lot of that symbolism. But yeah, that's a dream that I had. So.
That's a powerful dream. Holy crap. And that came through sessions as well. If you just look at those paths, what came through sessions 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, several times, so several different sessions, was the split has already happened, because I was asking, what do we need to do to prepare more people and stuff, or this client was asking that, and so I was asking it for her. What do we need to do to prepare more people? No, it's already done. The separation is already done. these people are not anyway. So it's like they've taken that road and the other ones have taken this road, and now it's just a waiting game. Yes. But that's already happened, which I find fascinating.
Here's a question from Leanna. I think I'm saying it right. Has Allison or clients experienced vertigo or falling feelings? I've heard that channelers say this is what the event will feel like, being dropped.
No. No, none of them have, but I don't invalidate, you know, what others have experienced. But I have to say that's never come up in any of my sessions, at least not in the last 3 or 4 months that I can remember. And certainly none of them have described it that way, as a falling feeling. But that I think that is a kind of great way to describe it. You know, I can, it's like that. When you say that, I can get the feeling. But no, I've never heard it described that way in my own sessions, but that doesn't mean it's not true.
Okay. So here's another question from an anonymous attendee. Is there any more information about the waves? For example, could these waves of energy be experienced by many right now as working, as pulling out emotional wounds, old baggage to bring them out of the surface, etc., to be dealt with and allow space within the cells in our body to make the shift possibly easier for us? I'll quickly say, yeah, that's what mucus is. And something's going on right here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is the effect of these waves already coming, at least the tendrils, the fingers of these waves already hitting the earth. It is to get you prepared to hold more light. And what do you need to do to hold more light? You got to get rid of all your junk, you know, whether that's dietary stuff or emotional stuff, you got to get rid of all that stuff. So it's coming up to the surface. And that actually is my dreams. The ones that I've been having lately that are so vivid have all been showing me kind of that my junk that I've kind of like pressed down and don't want to look at because it's uncomfortable. And so they're showing me, you know, certain, you know, relationship things with certain individuals and stuff. And so I have to not disregard that, you know, if that will allow me, if healing that and getting rid of it will allow me to hold more light, then that's what I need to do. And so, yes, that is absolutely accurate. The answer is yes. Sorry.
In some of my own sessions, it's also been suggested that some of this is for ancestral reasons. For example, some of what's going on with me and here right now, and it's been going on since Lionsgate of August of last year, is in my maternal ancestral line. My maternal grandmother actually died at the tender age of 24 from tuberculosis. And I've been shown that some of what I'm going through right now is healing this memory and this carry through my ancestral line by actually, you know, releasing it.
Oh, I see. So you're having a physical manifestation of this release coming through you. Yeah, that is huge. That is huge.
And you know what's so weird is, I mean, I was the person up until last year, I was the person who watched everyone else get sick. Kind of said, you know, oh, that just doesn't happen to me. And, you know, this is, you know, like I said, third time for me. All right. Let's see. Let's get another one right here. Let's see. Well, we've already asked that one. Okay, actually, can you let Allison know that Lisa Harrison is interested in doing an interview with her, and I sent her an email of interest at late. Here's the YouTube link. Yes, you are hitting the airwaves all over the place, making the big time. Did you get that email? I guess.
Hey, Lisa. Yeah, I'm super duper ooper behind in my emails. There's actually like 3 weeks of emails that I was even told to ignore. Oh, it's terrible. I shouldn't even say this. They're like, act as if they didn't happen. Yours is in there and I don't want to ignore it. And nor do I want to ignore anyone's, because being that Virgo means that I like to get stuff done and I hate any loose ends. So it's super uncomfortable to do this. But I'm trying to respond to all the recent emails. But Lisa, I was actually told to do your show from my higher self.
Wow.
I was actually told that. So I please email me again.
I love it. I love it. Really, really fun information to.
It was so that was so random to get that. Yeah, do Lisa's show. I was like, what? Okay, I guess I will not cuss, and I'll do Lisa's show. All right.
You can cuss on my show just fine.
I'm not supposed to.
Okay.
No.
Here's a question from Aaron. Has any information come through about how this shift or the event, I guess, would affect our pets? And could the sudden popularity of veganism be a precursor to people waking up?
Okay, so yeah, I do get a lot of information about pets because people ask about it, and I get everything from pets. You know, you'll be able to communicate with them more after this energy. That some of them will decide to shift in a way when that time comes. Like I had one client who asked about her pets, and it said, the higher self said, yeah, but they might not even look the same way. They might decide to shift bodies after when that time comes, when they're allowed to. But they're not necessarily leaving planet right away or anything, just like the humans aren't. They will be cared for. They're beings too, and I do get a lot of this. They're enlightened beings, and they chose to come here too, because a lot of us were just trying to find an in to the planet, like the first ticket onto the planet that was going to experience this, because this is such a huge thing. And so some of those tickets were through these animal bodies, you know, like, how can I get in? Anyway, it's fascinating information, but yeah, pets are still going to be around, and they'll upgrade as well. So because all of us are going to the next level. So whatever level we're at, we will be raised beyond. So, and then the veganism thing is interesting because, you know, I'm mostly vegan. I do eat a little shaved Parmesan every day because it's like crack cocaine. I love it. But definitely my diet has like 5 ingredients in it basically, and that's by choice because that feels good to me. And I've been this way for years, and I thought, oh, when I start doing these sessions, I can't wait because they're going to tell everybody to be vegan. And no, that didn't happen. That was another one of those things of just being like unbiased and non-judgmental, because, you know, I want everybody to be vegan. That is certainly, I love that. But that's not that is not helpful to everybody. That's not the diet that fits for their body, their metabolism. And I pay attention to that. So, it is, the whole veganism thing is interesting, but I do think we definitely hear that it raises a vibration for people, and definitely raises the vibration of the earth, because you're not just because of the factory farming and stuff, you're not being involved with that. But there are ways of I always get, you know, people on my tip for saying this, but there are ways to get high vibration meat, and the higher self recommends that for certain people. Diet is so individual.
Absolutely. I love that about your ticket in, and I might mention myself that for people who have had lost babies, and maybe even had, you know, miscarriages, and very, very young children leave, that often that's the information that comes as well, that just being here, even if they never even left the womb of their mother, being here at this time physical on the planet is an expansion, and putting a ticket in, and it's something to think about.
Fascinating. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Some really great things come out of these sessions, you know, where there's some great pain, and you know, there's something that at least seems positive about it. So some people are asking about the Bible correlations here, you know, the rapture, etc. What do you have to say about that?
You know, that actually, I get clients. Some of my clients are not only just extremely spiritual, but they also are very religious, believe it or not, and or they have that past. And so they ask a lot about the Bible. And I personally look at the Bible as just another reference point. you know, just another data point. I don't have any, you know, I was raised in a very Christian environment, and I'm very not religious, but I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, to me, those are reference points, data points. And, but the information that comes through these sessions is interesting because people are, you know, you don't have to believe this. So I'm just going to say this. They say that a lot of this information, it's just, they're trying to get it to the earth in whatever way that people will accept it. So if people are very religious, they're going to get it into them through like miracles and stuff, like Fatima and stuff like that. These kind of miracles, Catholic miracles, or you know, Christian miracles that are hitting the earth right now and have been the last couple decades. And so they're saying this is basically, they're just trying to get this information in any way possible. So the same information will come through in a different way through how that person is vibrating. So I know I could have said that better, but
I think you said that just fine.
But it's kind of like, go ahead. Shakespeare's, you know, the rose by any other name is still a rose. It's like this information is appearing in any way it can all over the earth, that something big is happening. And so I don't disregard it, you know, but I'm also not a fanatic. And yeah.
And our team speaks to us in language and in cultural idiom and phrases, and the way that it can, you know,
Right.
the way that you have that's like your own experience. So yeah.
And it's specifically coming to the earth to prepare people. That's why this information is coming to the earth. And so they don't want to leave whole cultures or whole religions out of this preparation by any means.
All right, I'm going to ask a completely different question here in a moment, but I'm going to answer this question because people are asking about questions being skipped over. There are hundreds of questions in front of me, hundreds. And I'm doing the best I can to sort of see the ones that maybe weren't talked about before, or to combine some, or to ask some specific ones. I would love to do this again with Allison. Maybe she would do this again with me sometime in the near future, but we're not going to get to everybody's question. It's just no way possible. We've already been doing this an hour and 10. And
Ooh.
I still have a voice, but you let me know what, you know, how you're doing. I can still talk. We can still keep going.
Yeah, I'm still fine.
Excellent. So another quantum healing practitioner, Akash, is asking us, do we have any information about the economy or the monetary system? Any information pertaining to cryptocurrency? Are they here to say? What's going on?
Okay. I don't get enough questions about that. I do think it's an interesting topic, and I know tons of people are interested in it. I get more higher perspective information coming through, like the fact that eventually we won't need a currency and we won't need an economy. We are going beyond that. But the very few clients who do ask about that, they always said that the crypto, that the currency, the revaluation of the currency will happen after the event. That yes, it's all of the groundwork has been laid, and there are hundreds and thousands of people who have, you know, spent their whole lives working on this stuff, or spent a huge chunk of their lives working on this stuff, and made huge sacrifices to help the shift come along. But then on the other side, this energy is the final push to allow for that to happen. That comes through sessions whenever anybody asks about it.
So pretty much all interesting. So it won't happen before, it'll happen afterwards.
Yes, but they also say that this is so imminent, you know. Those same sessions are saying this is so imminent, like soon. Of course, it's so soon.
It's always, yeah, soon, that wonderful soon. You know, actually this morning I was sitting and meditating about all of this, and the image I got was, I don't know if y'all have seen those hoses out there now. You can get these hoses, like garden hoses, and they're hardly anything, but when water goes through them, then they get bigger and they fill up with water. they go their full length, and then when the water goes out, they kind of come all the way up like that. And that was the image I got from my team to explain why or how that this thing that from a higher being's perspective may seem a contained, solid, single thing, maybe on another level, a physical level, you know, a much more long and drawn out thing, and yet it's the same thing.
Yeah, you know, I think that's great imagery. And certainly through these sessions, I get a lot of, you know, how long will it take this client to acclimate to the energies? So even if these energies are only, you know, the bulk of them take like a week or take 3 days or take a couple hours to hit the earth and to saturate it, how long will it take that client to acclimate to the energies? And that is actually very much on an individual level. So some clients, it was like, oh, it will take her 6 months to acclimate to these energies, and as if she's read the manual, you know, that I put that in one of my most recent videos. And then other clients, it was like, they're going to be a first responder. They will hit the ground running. And so it's very interesting to see how long each client or each individual will take to acclimate to these energies hitting the earth. It's fascinating. Just like that hose, like you showed, it's like it can be long and drawn out, or it can be quick. It can be instant. So it's completely individual.
One of the emailed questions asked, will any light workers or healers stay with the recycled or the others who are on the old earth to try to assist them?
No, they don't say, so that's assuming that, you know, and I'm not saying you're assuming this, but that question is assuming that the recycled people stay on this earth, because we're not talking about moving to a new earth yet. That's not, that we're not talking about that when we're talking about this event. That seems to take a while. Or at least through these sessions, that's what it's implying, that this energy will hit this earth, and then eventually, yes, a new earth exists and multiple new earths exist, but you will have the choice to go to those new earths at some point. But we're talking about this earth. Now, the beings who are going to be recycled are going off planet. They're not going to be on this earth. That's the information that's coming through these sessions. And so those are two separate things. And so no, I haven't ever received information that light workers were going where those recycled people are going. No, because they're not a match for that. They're a match to stay here, hold the light, and anybody who needs their help, that's who they will be helping on this current earth.
So here's a question for me. I'm thinking, have you ever asked the idea of the recycled beings? Do they retain individuality, or what do we know about their recycling process, or what happens there?
You know, I haven't asked that. I think it is a fascinating subject, but no, I haven't. We haven't gone into detail in that in any of my sessions, and I'm wondering if anybody besides me has. That would be fascinating bits of information, because I get that sometimes they're going to a planet that they're a match to, a different 3D planet that they're a match to, because this planet won't be 3D anymore. That's why they won't be a match to this, but there are other 3D planets that they would be a match to. And then sometimes it says in different sessions, it says they'll just be going back to source, and that's what they mean by recycled, going back to source and then reincarnated. So it could be either or, I guess.
Right? I know. I'm very curious about that one. That's what I would ask if given the opportunity. I have not yet myself either. Lynetta asks, how many dimensions are involved in the event? Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh? Have you asked that question?
No, I haven't asked that question. It was just the information that comes through is saying that this event is coming to this earth that is also going to be transitioning. And so it raises everybody up to their next level. And then beyond that, eventually you can go into the higher dimensions. If you're a match for the higher dimensions, eventually you can make that choice. That's the information that comes through. Not necessarily, I don't get anything that says like, this is a eighth dimension or seventh dimension stuff. It's more like we're all going to the next level for us.
I've heard in some of my own sessions that some of the cosmic differences are affecting all of the planets in the system. It's not just Earth, etc. So yeah, I mean, so there's that anyway. It's not just an Earth-based thing, but as far as dimensions, I guess there's different ways of thinking about that.
Yeah, that's a. I'm not trying to poo-poo the question at all. It's just, I refuse to answer questions that I don't have enough information on, right? And so if I'm just trying to quickly scan all of my sessions, that doesn't come through. Like, it doesn't come through like that.
Shelley asks, I've noticed some of my friends and myself having a hard time meditating these days. Is this because of the energies?
Oh, I would assume so. I mean, I would assume so. I think a lot of people are feeling kind of like this kind of franticness right now. I know I am, and I'm a huge meditator, and I can't for the life of me stop, drop, and meditate lately. And I know I should, and I can't seem to get back to the gym, and I know I should. And so I'm not dissipating all of this energy. And it's like, that's almost always the first thing to go when the body is feeling stressed and it's picking up on these energies. What are the first things that we get rid of? They're usually the most helpful things, like meditation, like going to the gym, or creativity. And this energy needs to be dissipated. And so I feel you. It is hard to meditate, but that's probably the best thing that we can do right now. Some form of getting this energy out. So whether that's a physical form, or whether that's a meditative, energetic form, or whether that's a creativity or journaling or anything, or even talking, just get it out, start dissipating this energy. So, but yeah, it has been hard to do stuff like that lately, because I can feel it, and I'm not a big, I think it's been established, I'm not a big feeling person.
I made myself do some restorative yoga yesterday because I'm finding it difficult to slow down and stop too. I mean, work and all of the interest, of course, of all this stuff coming up right now during this very significant month. But yoga, that's yoga session really helped me. So maybe
massively helpful. Yeah.
All right. Here's a really interesting one. Jean Ann asks, has anyone mentioned a pink sphere or rainbow frequency coming up?
They don't really call it rainbow frequency, but they do mention that the energy is seems like a rainbow coming to the earth, a wall of rainbow light. I even heard it described, and this was beautiful. I love this. And that it was all shimmery, and it looked like a bubble you were blowing up. You know how that kind of oil slick kind of look to it with all the rainbow colors in there. And so not described, definitely, they didn't use the term frequency, but yes, rainbow energy, same as frequency. And then the pink, I haven't heard that, but I do think it's interesting. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I'm sure you have. Yes, iridescent, that was the perfect word. Iridescent. And shimmery and rainbow colored. Sorry, I just saw that pop up on the chat really quick. I'm not watching the chat, but every once in a while it catches my eye and scan down. But the skies are different right now. The colors in the skies, the clouds, all of that stuff is different right now. Even from the ISS space station, the International Space Station, their feed on the Earth has been showing different lights, different colors on the earth. And then also I saw some videos, I think it was Secure Team or something like that, really cool website, and that probably wasn't it. No, a really cool YouTube channel. They were showing videos that people have taken in the middle of the night, say 2 a.m, they're driving down the road, and they take a video because, oh my God, the sky is orange and it should be black. It's orange. So we actually asked about this in a session last week, and the answer was fascinating, because I was like, is that evidence of, these energies hitting the earth? you know, and they were like, no, what that is a sign that the earth herself, of her preparation for accepting these energies, just like the humans are preparing, it's the earth preparing to accept these energies. It's the earth's process. And so those are what the lights that you're seeing right now around the earth, and the changing of the atmosphere to accept these energies. And I was like, ooh, man, this is ramping up. This is so cool. This is so cool. The clouds here in Portland have just been freaking beautiful, amazing, like glowing in a different way, you know? Have you noticed any of that?
Oh gosh, I'm a big sky watcher, and I have noticed that, very much so, very much so. And different sort of cloud formations and cloud shapes and movements.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it reminds me of, again, the Technicolor, you know, aspect of the Wizard of Oz kind of thing, and which is why that imagery keeps coming through as well.
And just like in that movie, you know, when they all of a sudden it's light, you know, they go from black and white to light, and the song, the music changes and everything. They say that through these sessions. I get a lot of that the color schemes will change here. Our ability to see different color, everything will be brighter and different after this energy happens. Now, I'm not assuming that everything is correct that I hear. You know, I'm just like, once again, is just data, but I think that's a fascinating bit of information. I hope for that.
Of course, because it's exciting. And I know that a couple of my own dreams, I've had dreams and I'm looking at something, I'm like, that's a color that I know that I have never seen before. And unless you've seen a color, how do you know you've never seen it before? And then when I wake up, I remember the dream that I was looking at a color I've never seen before, but I'm back in my physical, so I can't even imagine what that is. Like, I can't remember
what a trip. Oh my God.
Yeah. So
that's so cool.
So, okay, here's a question from Stephen, who wants to know, have you noticed that any naysayers about the event coming up generally come from channelers? Any thoughts on non-humans wanting to delay the event, or that even some good ETs don't want us fully awake? Naysayers, non-humans wanting to delay, and even some good ETs don't want us fully awake?
Well, I think all possibilities exist, in my opinion. Just from doing this work, that has been verified that all, and I have to stay in that state of recognition that all possibilities could exist. And so, but I do get information from these sessions that no one is able to delay this energy. No one. That's not a possibility anymore. This energy is coming through. Now, that's what I get in my sessions. Don't hold me to that. I'm just reporting it. But certainly there are positive ETs, there are negative ETs, there are positive people, there are negative people. And I'm sure they don't want this change. So yeah, that can happen.
So this question's been asked before, but it's one that people still want to know. They want to know, you know, what kind of 3D stuff's gonna shift, be gone, or whatever. This person asks about people leaving their jobs, feeling less to 3D responsibility. Will we need to work, especially jobs that we don't like? And people in hospitals, you know, will they still be there? Will we still need hospitals? Those kinds of 3D questions.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I think all of the major systems, we get information that all of the major systems are going to be changing. You know, government, healthcare, education, it's social services, you know, the war machine, all of that stuff is going to be changing because of this energy. You can see all of these systems breaking down. And so I think it may be that all of them will start up in a different way, not necessarily the war machine, but governments may start up a different way. Healthcare may start up a different way or start changing. Because we see the old systems breaking down, but we don't see the new systems yet starting up. And so I think that's why so many people will choose to stay here help and change this world for the better. But yes, anything that you see that's not based on love and the compassion for others and empathy and the actual helping of others, any system that you see like that exists now will be changing.
Very good. So here's some questions. I'm going to try to kind of combine some, because really there's so many, and we adore the fact that you all are so interested in this. There's just so many questions. There's no way to get to all of them. No way.
Thank you, Candace, for doing this. I know you don't feel good.
So much fun. I love it. This is what I live for. Terry asks, are the solar winds that are cutting through the cracks in the magnetosphere part of this event? But let's try to answer all of that together. So the solar winds, magnetosphere, but people want to know about electromagnetic storms and the electric power grid. Can you kind of answer all of that combined?
Yeah, you know, that information comes through from the sun, you know, and from the normal reactions of the sun and the earth. And what we get from about this event and the energy coming through for this event is that it's a portal from the galactic sun. So this energy is coming from the galactic sun. And then I even heard that it's a portal coming from the galactic sun, and then it will shoot through our sun and hit the earth. Now, I don't believe the two are super interrelated. The normal reactions of earth, the normal magnetic changes of the earth, the pole shifts, all that stuff, I don't think they're super related to this energy coming. But you can definitely feel the stuff ramping up. So I don't get enough information about just the natural reactions of the sun and the earth to comment too much about them.
Okay. Here's a couple questions about our physical bodies. Will we still die when we're 5D? And Shubham asks, I have a question about the looks. Are we going to look the same after the change? Any increase in height or skin color or change, anything like that? What's going to do to what we look like, and if we die?
Oh, man. I get a lot of information that says that eventually we'll be able to control whether or not we die. Whether or not we decide to transition out of our bodies, or whether or not we decide to just leave them completely and go to a higher dimension. It is so hard to answer that any one way, any question any one way. I do get a lot of information that says that once we're 5D, we can, you know, we will hold light differently. And so our bodies will appear younger and more youthful. Then when we go to these other dimensions, if we dimension hop and go to higher dimensions after leaving this earth, we can start manipulating more of our physical appearance, as well as our outer environment and stuff. And so it seems that that's the trend where we're going, that we have more control over not only our physical looks and our physical appearance, but how long our energy stays in our body. But I do think, you know, when we stay on this earth, I actually shouldn't continue with that, because I was going to say, I do think if we stay on this earth, that death is a part of this earth. But then I get, you know, that's also, you know, whatever. So right. I get it. I don't get enough information either way to say positively one thing about that.
So just to kind of continue on with the physicality thing, Sean asks, how would someone who is currently dealing with some substantial health issues and a variety of physical ailments, if physical death is imminent before the event, how would they experience it compared to their healthy counterparts and light workers' purpose in that case, if that makes any sense? I guess, you know, I kind of understand that question. You know, they're here to help with the shift, but they may themselves physically pass right before it happens.
Good God, I hope not. Man, I really hope not. I so hope not. But okay, so I get a lot of information that this energy is very healing. It's very healing to to the body and to the mind. And so and this, you can choose not to believe this or believe this. It's, it's just information, that people will start to heal because of this light. This light is healing. And so if they're on Earth, they will get a huge dose of healing themselves. Healing is a spectrum though. So I don't know what all it will heal. And so, but then if they're off Earth, say if they go to these ships and they come back to Earth, they will be able to start being healed by the people who have held onto the light. Those become the healers. They're able to send that light into bodies and help heal them. That's the information that comes through. But anything personal about healing would have to be asked on an individual level in a session.
Very good. And I hate to do this, but I've got a session myself coming up pretty soon. So not just quite yet, just knowing that we're going to be wrapping it up here pretty quickly with just a few more questions. Leona asked, will people be able to move to get home, or will they just lay down on the ground wherever they are like a knockout? And this interesting one, will life around them go on? I keep imagining I'm walking out to my horse barn and boom, there I go, hit the ground, and do my horses still walk around? I wonder what might happen with the rest of life around.
The information that comes through says every being on this earth is going to feel this. So even if I'm here at my home and my daughter is at school, life is not going to be going on as it was for her. She's going to experience some of what I'm experiencing. We will all be kind of laid down by this energy. That's what comes through these sessions. Hopefully that's true. hopefully life does not just go on around us, because that would be the assumption that not everybody is experiencing this. And what comes through these sessions is that no, everybody and every being is going to experience this on Earth.
Perfect. That's so exciting. I get very excited when you talk about this stuff too. I'm not immune. I'm the biggest fan about all this, and I'm very, very excited about it. Yeah, I've had some interesting sessions that have focused on the sun itself as a being, the sun itself that is kind of ascending through all of this as well, that the sun is ascending.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, I have some session clips. I've been meaning to share them for a while. I just stay so busy. You know this. It's tough keeping up with all the communication and everything.
But that makes sense, Candace, because anything touched by this energy would be affected by it. And even if you just go with what came through my sessions as like, there's a portal coming from the galactic sun and it's shooting through our sun into Earth, then yeah, the sun would be completely affected by it. So that's cool, but I don't get enough information or enough questions about the sun to be able to answer that question or anything about it. But that's really cool. You get information about that.
There's some information about that. Excuse me, I picked it up. I did a Patricia Corey, who did the new Syrian Revelations. After my session, she talks a little bit about that, about the sun, and some of that going on. So that's another interesting way of looking at it. I love this question so much. This next one. There's a question about this wave of energy that's coming in. Is it at all connected to BQH and QHHT sessions, the healing part of it that's going through them? And what I love so much about that is my own crystal river thing has morphed into this thing where source sends a beam of light energy to the sun, and then the sun then sends it to the client, and then that's part of, in the BQH sessions, this is, when the healing team comes in and a lot of physical healing comes in. So somebody actually asked that, is this the same kind of energy? And what would you think about that?
Sounds great to me. I think a lot of us are inclined to tap into this energy that's coming in. We feel it coming. And I don't think we realize how powerful it actually is going to be once it hits, but we have a taste of it right now, and we're able to actually tap into that little bit of it. And so many of us who work with energy are inclined to do that, to tap into these hints that are coming to the earth right now. Mm-hmm. So, ooh, I love this stuff. I love getting as much information as possible and hearing people's experiences and gathering all the data. I love this shit. It's so good.
It is
oh my
fun.
God.
It is fun. Actually, Kim asked, can you recommend any more books or more insight about what's happening, where we are and where we're going? I've got a suggestion in a moment, but I'm going to let you start with an answer. Allison.
God, I got nothing. I have no recommendations because, you know, yes, the ancients knew about this cyclical stuff, and that does show up in like the Kali Yuga and stuff. But, you know, even information from 2 months ago is old. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned. And I can't for the life of me be interested in any books right now. That's just my own personal thing, because I feel like this stuff is so new, like and not the event stuff, but the information that's coming through is so on the cutting edge. We've never been here before. And so I don't have anything to recommend at this point. I really don't. And that's indicative of just where we're at and where we're facing.
Actually, assuming that it holds off for a little bit, I've got a little bit of an announcement. There isn't even anything to point to yet, except for the fact that we've been talking about it. On the community of quantum healers that Allison and I both belong to, hundreds of quantum healers across the planet. You can find them at quantumhealingpractitioners.com. But we've started a discussion, an idea that was submitted, and we're going to be doing this now. And it's going to be a connected and a group event happening all across the planet of a group regression, online and in person, quantum healing practitioners of all kinds, all around the planet, doing group regressions or group meditations or group journeys, however you want to look at it, all on a single day at the same time. And we're going to do a small version of this with our beta BQH class actually Wednesday of this week, day after tomorrow. We're going to already start and see kind of where it takes us. If we're going to focus on how can we find out more information about the event. But assuming it all hasn't come to pass quite yet, into April, that's the day we're going to do it. We're actually going to do this. I thought about you as we were picking this date, just because of your historical background. But we're going to pick Dolores Cannon's birthday this year, which happens April 15th, which is historically tax day, but it falls on a Sunday this year. Perfect. So we are going to watch watch the Quantum Healing and Beyond YouTube site, watch our Quantum Healing and Beyond Facebook page, contact us about all that. But we're going to have practitioners all across the planet hold these events. Some are going to do them live, some are going to do them online, and invite people to participate in that way. And maybe if we all focus or think about it, or have a same intention at the same time during the same 24-hour period, we can maybe proactively assist some of what's going on this planet. What do you think of that idea?
You know that's true. You know that's true. That focus, that intent, and that grid that you're putting around the planet would actually enhance and speed up this energy. Because if you just look at manifestation, that's what you need. And so that is awesome. That is so exciting. I want to be a part of that. I hope I can, depending on the hours of it. But
you check your schedule, because I'm happy to do a duo thing like this if it works for you, or help you set up a solo thing if it doesn't, or just let me know how you can, you can participate on that. Or before, just letting your community know about this would be great. But it's also a way for people who are so excited about this and have that little bit of that anxious energy. I think it's going to be beneficial in a lot of ways. Number one, a place to sort of sit back and kind of offset some of that, but also to focus, like you just said. We have lost We have lost Allison. And you know, I was just about ready to shut it down anyway. So once again, the computer's kind of doing it for me. There was somebody out there who said they were actually seeing this live on YouTube. I hadn't seen it come up yet. I don't exactly know if it has or not. But for those of you who have stayed with us today, I want to thank you so much. I'm going to thank Allison as well, whether or not she pops back in or not. She's an amazing guest to have and a wonderful friend. And if y'all can go see her for a session, you know, certainly go do that. For those of you who are interested in Beyond Quantum Healing, we are still offering the beta version of that class for members of our community. You can check out our website, quantumhealingpractitioners.com, to find out about that. Pretty affordable to do during the beta class for members of our community. I want to take this opportunity to thank Greg Prescott of N5D.com, who has sponsored this show now for 3 years. Greg, you are a dear, and I love you so much, and thank you for making this information, etc., available. So I just got a text from Allison that her computer died, and I'm going to tell her it's all right and that I'm signing off anyway. And thank you all so much for being here. And here, signing off. And we'll see you next time. Okay? Bye-bye for now.